meeting for March 11, 2025. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Members of the board. Ali is absent. Toth.
Here.
Schumann is excused. Abens.
Here.
Smolik.
Here.
Members of the administration. Assistant Law Director Morgan. Here. Planning and Development Director Lieber. Here. City Engineer Evanson.
Here.
Okay, at this time, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes from January 14th, 2025? Are there any corrections at this time? Hearing none, those minutes shall stand. We have some administrative approvals. Director Lieber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One zoning certificate has been approved since the last meeting, which is for Little Ranger Rumble, a indoor toddler playground, which will take a portion of the space formerly occupied by bullfrogs on Center Ridge Road, so that'll be a great new business. And then I just also wanted to update the Planning Commission that work is underway on our zoning code update. I've been working with our consultant on basically establishing the districts and uses, use tables, use standards, conditional use standards. And so we're getting close to at least having a draft of that section for full staff review. So I want you to know that that is happening in the background. And also we'll be looking at scheduling a public meeting to discuss our Lear-Lorraine traffic study and recommendations, likely towards the end of April, beginning of May timeframe. So stay tuned for more information about that as well.
Okay, thank you. There was no old business brought before the board, so we'll go into new business. Madam Secretary, please read the only application for tonight.
PPZ 2025-0337 Victory Park, 7777 Victory Lane, PPN 07-00-003-102-106. Owner PMJ Park Holdings, 7777 Victory Lane, North Ridgeville, Ohio 44039. Proposal consists of new turf fields, lighting, and other site improvements. Property zoned I-2 Light Industrial District.
Okay, thank you. Director Lieber, findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Victory Park, the property itself is owned by the city of North Ridgeville, but the operator is PMJ Park Holdings, LLC, a private entity. That, as Ms. Weber stated, the property is zoned I-2 Light Industrial District. However, the agreement between the city and the operator establishes the permitted use of this property as a sports park to include ball fields, parking, lighting, fencing, and all of the other amenities in support of a sports park. The agreement also provides that prior to the installation of any improvements or changes, that the city would review and approve that installation in compliance with our codified ordinances, and that would include review by boards, commissions, or councils. So that's the reason for this project before you this evening. The proposal consists of the installation of 2 turf fields, lighting, and other site improvements in support of the turf field project. The new fields are identified on your site plans as Turf Field 3 and Turf Field 4. So Turf 1 and 2 are existing, and they're west of the new fields, and those were installed the last several years without going through this particular planning review process. The new fields are shown located in the northernmost area of the site plan. They're in blue. North is to your right, with the existing turf fields to the west, and then that lake to the east. There's an existing asphalt access drive between the fields, and that will be reduced in length. Right now it connects over towards Cook, and that will be terminated in a T turnaround. 12 new light poles are proposed. 10 surround the new fields. They're 80 feet high. 2 additional ones are 70 feet high and are a little bit to the south, more towards the drive, towards the parking area there. Pole height, fixture type, illumination levels all exceed our code requirements. This is a very unique area of our planning and zoning code in regards to lighting. Planning Commission has the authority to grant approval without the need for variances. And just that specific part of the code reads that because of their unique requirements for providing greater nighttime visibility, their need to ensure public safety, and their limited hours of operation, stadiums, which include ball diamonds, playing fields, and tennis courts, amphitheaters, and similar uses, are exempted from the exterior lighting standards. A lighting plan for these uses shall be established at the time that the request for exterior lighting is made and shall be subject to Planning Commission approval. So that's how, this isn't a variant situation, so the lighting does exceed code, but the commission can explore the lighting plan as part of your review in this case. We had staff review with the applicant, and we made several recommendations and requests for additional information, many of which were provided last Friday. We've asked for a grading plan, which I believe will be required as part of permit. We had pointed out that the initial length, the east-west length of the fields made it difficult to fit in the fire department's required 20-foot emergency access drive while not getting too close to the property line on the east. So those fields have been, the width has been reduced to 400 feet. Additional information has been provided on the fencing and the netting. We had talked about the need to contain, soccer balls and not have them fished out of the lake, and to protect the turf. So that has been identified on plans. The applicants provided a portion of that emergency access drive is now 20 feet with the T turnaround at the end. We discussed spectator viewing, and they indicated that would be mobile and brought in on a temporary basis as needed. And then we spent quite a bit of time talking about lighting. So the initial photometric plan just showed the illumination for the soccer turf fields themselves. On Friday, we got some additional information that showed the broader photometric plan, and carried out all that lighting, to zero. So you can kind of see the full impacted area of the lighting. So that remains probably my greatest concern, is understanding the impact of lighting. I don't have concerns about the turf fields themselves, and feel that the lighting could potentially be separated out as a separate issue for being addressed by the Planning Commission. I also wanted to point out that staff is aware from previous meetings with Victory Park that they have some other improvements in store potentially later this year or next year that would include additional parking lots and maybe some other additional small structures. But those just are not before you tonight. They have some urgency in getting these turf fields installed for the playing season. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Lieber. City Engineer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Ms. Lieber's point, she touched on many of the things already we have discussed during the pre-hearing meeting, but I did want to elaborate a little on during the engineering permit review process. I would like to see some additional details as it regards to the site plan and the grading plan, and how the subsurface system for the new turf fields is going to connect to the existing storm sewer system. And I also, engineering had asked for an as-built survey on the two existing turf fields, because I believe the current storm sewer being shown in the site plan is actually from the 2008 proposed plan. So I'd like to see if that was really built to plan, and get a little more detail on that to ensure that it's still staying to the overall plan. And that concludes my comments.
Assistant Law Director?
I sort of have a question for engineering. Are all of those concerns things they should have done today before Planning Commission approval, or are those things that they should do after Planning Commission approval?
I think those details could be provided during the engineering review. I mean, I just think the plan set needs to be a little more detailed to include your construction details for your subsurface drainage, how that connects to the existing system, what that existing stormwater system or storm sewer system looks like in that area.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a member in the audience who represents this application? If so, please stand up, state your name and address for the record, and tell us a little bit more information that was outside the director's report.
Okay, my name is Joe Borky. I am the majority owner and managing partner for Victory Park, PMJ Park Holdings, along with Don Mold, Steve Montana, who's the turf installer, and Tony Palacino, who's our park director. Here in support of this today. So pretty much what we're trying to do here, what was originally approved as far as the layout of the park for that particular part of the parcel, there was to be 5 soccer fields across the lake. There's currently 4. They never put in the 5th one because they needed the access drive to Cook Road originally when they put this in because there was no Victory Lane. Long and short of it is, without getting into the whole details, how we ended up involved with the park. We're trying to finish the park at this point. So essentially all we want to do is put in that 5th field and convert the 4th field to artificial grass as opposed to natural grass. Outside of that, it's pretty much as simple as that. There's an awful lot of things we're going to be carrying on with them as time goes on. We have a huge master plan to continue to finish the facility all the way around. But as far as this committee and this meeting, we just got to stay focused on those two fields.
Okay. Just for the record, there's been quite a few correspondence that came in after the initial Planning Commission member packets. We had the updated plans for Victory Park that was sent on Friday, March 7th. We had an updated lighting plan for Victory Park that was March 7th as well. We had the engineer's recommendation sheet that was March 7th. And Monday, we received Victory Park's updated planning review, which would be just the administrative staff comments. And then we received an updated staff bulletin today as well. So I just want to make sure the rest of the commission members understand that there was stuff that came after the initial member packets. Okay, I will open it up to, is there anybody in the audience who has any questions or concerns in regards to this project? All right, hearing none, the public comment section will be closed. I'll open up questions, comments to the commission.
Can I make a mention about the lighting piece of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just so we can be clear on all that, when they did the light spill ratios and all that, so when you're talking about how it impacts properties outside of ours, at dusk, when it gets dark, that's 1 foot candle worth of light. Once you get to the north there, roughly 40 feet onto the trucker's property there, you're at 0.1 foot candle. So from there, anywhere else and all the way around, you're 0.1 foot candle. So you're barely even at illumination levels at dusk or at twilight. So just be clear, so when they're talking about lighting spill or anything of that nature, it's a whole different technology than what was originally on that facility to begin with.
Right. Well, since you brought up the photometrics, the only photometrics we have is the actual fields themselves. Typically, we get the actual photometrics from the light manufacturer on the spillage.
But that's what that is, all around there.
Okay. Well, yeah, unfortunately, is this part of our packet?
The updated one that you got.
Oh, there's a second page. Did not see that. I guess,
If you read those numbers, you'll see that
so this is how I sort of sit on this. We had a lot of information that came in late, especially with the photometrics. So I'm uncomfortable tonight on the photometrics. So I mean, I guess as the applicant, what's your thoughts of just going with the development plan today and then coming back for the photometrics or the lighting plan?
I guess it depends on how this impacts the entire go-forward strategy with the project. Kind of the problem that we have right now is we're getting a lot of pressure from 4 Sports they are consolidating a lot of their sports, and they're trying to bring it to Victory Park. This is that kind of option year for them. If we don't able to get by fall to have this project up and running for them, they're going to be going back out to all these different places. We may not have this opportunity again for several more years. So we're kind of under the gun to try to make this happen at this point.
Right, but unfortunately, you know, we're here to make sure that, you know, we feel comfortable with this type of installation in the community.
Sure.
And I think, I'm just telling you, from my point of view, information came in late, and I'm uncomfortable at this point in time.
Just so I'm clear, you're uncomfortable that it's less than 1 foot candle on somebody else's property?
Well, I mean, I would have to, I mean, this is not a traditional photometrics that I normally see in engineering drawings. I'm just letting you know, so.
Sure, that's the lighting spill based off of the engineering calculations, based off of the type of fixtures that are being installed and the type of direction that they're aimed, type of product, the type of lamps that they are, all the rest of that. So that's based on the engineering calculations from the lighting manufacturer as to what that spill would be. And so the spill that we're talking about, again, has to be on the other people's properties, not, you know, doesn't matter what it is on their.
Right, but I mean, this exhibit does absolutely nothing for me because I don't see property lines, I don't see anything. I'm just letting you know.
That's the end of the property line.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's my point of view as one member.
Fair enough.
As far as the actual field itself, typically on synthetic turf fields, you have 15 feet of run out from your perimeter. You know, when your largest field, in some situations, you only have 10 feet of run out and 12 feet of run out. I have some safety concerns. I think some of those fences are too close to the field of play. It doesn't meet traditional size of turf fields. I think there's too much being jammed in this one spot. It was quite evident in a way that when that asphalt path to try to get the emergency vehicles in, everything shrunk. And I mean, I think it's just too tight for what you're planning on doing here. Because, like, for example, the eastern run out, I'm scaling it, there's no dimension, it's only like 12 feet. You have the run out along the common, along the center there to that net, that's only like 10 feet. That's not much run out. I mean, 15 feet, like I said, is generally industry standard.
Do you have any comment on that, sir?
I know the north and south sides were originally like 17.5 feet. I know it reduced it.
There's no problem on the north and
If
south side.
you're gonna come up, yeah, just please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Steve Smetana of Field of Play. You just want the address, you said?
Yeah, your formal business address would be
Oh,
fine.
Victory Park,
Well, no, all right, your business address.
my business,
Yeah.
13875 Hall Road, Chardon, Ohio.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So originally, I know it was the north and south sides were about 17.5 feet originally, and then we did have plenty of room on the soccer lines, east and west. But then we have a softball lines that are slightly beyond that on the west side, on the two north and south corners. So I know we did shrink the, on the east side, I know we shrunk that down to try to get away from the lake a little bit more. As of right now, I don't have an exact measurement on that, on the new drawing. So that's something I'd have to look at.
Okay. And then as far as, what's the plan for your stormwater retention and water quality?
Don Mold, 34899 Lorraine Road. Excuse me. At this point in time, the existing fields have that quality of control for the stormwater. And we've talked this with Christina, and we want to make sure we address it. the new fields will tie into the old existing system, and probably 2/3 of the fields right now are surface shedding to the pond. Okay, it's how it was designed initially, because we built it with 2008 or 9. So we're gonna continue to follow that same footprint, but what we need to do for Christina in engineering is validate where everything's going, which will be coming on a master plan and plans later, you know, as we do the build-out plans. I think right now what we're trying to get under our belt here is move forward so we can get these other plans started, to get those to these guys to get submitted, so we can get some approvals and try and stay on a timeline. I think Joe told me that this was probably about a $3 million out of pocket, which doesn't mean anything to anybody here, I get it, but I think the impact on the area is gonna be well worth it. And again, we just gotta make sure we catch all the bells and whistles and get it right. I know we shrunk the fields on the east-west axis, if I remember that right, from east to west. And I mean, I'm sure there's a way we can look at it, if there's a way to adjust it the other, but I think at this point in time, for us to continue moving forward and spending money for engineering to get drawings that they can review, which are gonna have to come back around anyway. You know, we just need some kind of a, I guess, a commitment from you guys that this is okay as long as all the other criteria meets their criteria, and we can move forward. But, you know, we're kind of like stopped here because we don't want to spend any more money if this thing's not gonna move up. And I know we can address the lighting, that's not gonna be an issue. And I mean, that's something that we can spin around. I guess my mind when I was listening, so if we get an agreement, move forward with everything but the lighting, how long does it take if you have everything in hand to get that, so we can keep it all moving, I guess is my question. You know, is it a month, next planning commission, or could we do something in between? You know, those are questions I don't know the answers to.
Well, this is a recommending body.
Correct.
So obviously, if an approval did come out, we'd have to go to city council.
Okay.
And then city council is the actual official body that would approve it.
So we have some time, I guess what you're telling me, but what we're trying to do is contain the window. You know, because we're gonna have to engage Bramall to get the drawings going. And I don't know what the timeline there is, but for us to meet our target, which is a fall start, you know, we're gonna push, and I get it. You know, we're running up and asking, hey, come on, you guys, can you help us? And all I'm saying is, I get it, we can address the issues, but if we can sort through the issues and get the things that are ahead of us so we can continue to move forward.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or?
It does.
Am I circling around the block? You know, the park has been, you know, we've been ongoing over there since we took it over, okay? And it's there, it's real close. And again, this is just like Joe said, you're just addressing some existing grass fields into artificial, because it gives it a capacity to increase the revenue source, which is what it's all about. There's no secret. And I think it's a real positive, again, for the people that are gonna come in to use them. I mean, he's talking about some leases that are gonna go on for some years, couple years. My point is, that's a constant flow of people, and by artificial turf, you're gonna be able to work, you know, more, the season's gonna become longer. And by doing the softball thing with the turf, you know, there's multiple things that are gonna be going on there. It's gonna enhance a position. Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else I can add, or Lee?
Does the rest of the commission have any other questions or comments?
Yeah, just a quick question. I know there's fly ash in that area.
Yeah.
Is that all going to remain intact, or are you gonna have
That
to
is the
disturb it?
intent, okay? And we've got some borings that were done, and it reflects some things that I don't think are right. I mean, I've been there since we took it over. I mean, I built it originally. But that'll be addressed. It's not something that's gonna go by the wayside and we're gonna lose, you know what I mean? It's gotta be addressed properly, and I think Christina brought that, or Lori said, make sure you guys don't let it go by the wayside, and we're aware of that. And if I remember right, excuse me, there's a detail that will be provided for the build-out that reflects how you put piping in if you get into ash, okay? And the field, it's all over the board there. And like, I know when Lori was reading the bores, there was no dirt over the ash. Well, that's not gonna work, because you're not gonna grow grass on the ash, you know what I'm saying? And some places it might have been 3 feet, some places it might have been 1 foot. I mean, it's supposed to be capped uniformly, but it wasn't done that way when whoever did it, you know, doesn't matter. But we gotta address it as we're coming forward now. And that's one thing that I know that we had a conversation with Bramall about, the way to do the trenches properly from an environmental firm, put it together. They've got that cut. But those, again, to go forward, we gotta go, yeah, okay, we can move forward to this point. Let's get these prints together and get them to these guys to review. Okay?
Okay, I guess, from my point of view,
Yep,
this is a development plan, right?
correct.
Okay, and I mean, I have some huge concerns over, you know, the fact that too much is being jammed in here. So unfortunately, all I could do is vote on what's in front of me.
All right,
That's all I could do. And like I said, I'm extremely uncomfortable with it. And then the lighting, like I said, that as well. So,
So if I, just so I understand you, so your issues are the lighting, and we're talked about the configuration of the fields.
yeah, like,
Side setbacks.
yeah, you have chain link fences. They're really close to field of play.
And again, I don't know what the criteria, what the right dimension is supposed to be, you know, what's allowable, what's not allowable. I can't
They
speak for that.
recommend 15 feet,
15 feet?
what's recommended,
So I guess when,
or 17 to 20, depending on.
so at this point in time, if there was a way to adjust those to 15 feet, that would comfort zone you to the one issue that's kind of hanging?
Down or above it at this point.
We're longer than 15?
Yes.
Well, the one, I mean, we talked about the east side is less than 15 feet.
On the lakeside, and again, that's not fence, that's netting. On the lakeside, that whole
Yeah, so
lakeside is net.
it's not, yeah, Joe's right, it's a net system, not a fence, not a chain link. Your chain link is only east, or north and south.
And it's only on the 200 feet in the middle, on around 100 feet down either side and across the east and the west is all netting.
So there's not a fence where the kids are gonna get into, but it'll keep them from getting into the lake.
So on this exhibit, the chain link is only yellow.
I don't have
That's what it looks like on there.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Kevin.
But you still have chain link within 10 feet.
He said he's got it at 15. We're better than 15 is what he said.
I
I mean, we don't have a scale. I
Right.
don't think there's a way to scale it, okay? But I guess what I'm saying is, if that's an issue of the criteria that we've got to address, then we'll just make that happen on the drawing.
And in the north-south, we can continue to expand that. We can go as
Right.
far east as we want to, or excuse me, south.
South.
From north-south, we can expand that even further. It doesn't really matter at that point. The only things we're restricted on is the east and west portions of that netting.
Right. And we've already consolidated the field down to, it was 400 feet from what?
Started 420 originally.
So we shrunk it down so we get the access road right for the fire department. And in the same breath, back it away from the pond a little bit because there was some concern about that. I mean, I don't see it, I mean, I think we're there, and I don't know why it isn't reflected in what you're looking at, but it is what it is, I guess, and I'm just trying to convey, we understand where you want it to be, we'll make sure it's there, I mean, I can tell you that.
yeah, my biggest thing is safety.
No, we're with you too, we don't need, there's gonna be a lawsuit on us, we don't want that, no, trust me.
I mean, and then also along this, where's the emergency gates to enter you should have a double gate to have a squad come in and into the field, or a gator.
For the 200 feet, so you gotta this makes it even 400 feet, so 100 feet down is still net, 200 feet is fence, last 100 feet is net. There'll be a double gate, but they didn't do all the detail with the fencing, just showing fencing, but it is, we had it at all fields, there's a double gate to get in there, so you have a big enough vehicle, you can get through there on all the fields. 14 foot.
Okay.
Okay.
Just a point, and again, I could be talking out of my hat, in order to calm your fears as far as safety is concerned, would it be possible to add padding in those areas to protect the players? On the chain link,
On the fence?
on the chain link, yeah. Because that's your concern, correct?
Well, I think what they acknowledged is they would
Right.
minimize the field
Right, we'll do
to
what we gotta do
obtain
to make your.
to obtain the 15-foot
Yeah,
run
I
out.
don't think that's a problem, because we can shift to
Right.
the south.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, we've gotta shift a little bit to the south to make it work, we've got room to do that.
Right. And I would like to keep that 15-foot run out on chain link and normal netting, because someone could get caught up in
No,
a
next year.
in a
And
net.
we, for what's worth, we do, I do absolutely agree with you. There's no intention for that to be anything under 15 feet.
Right.
I promise you that.
Right.
And it'll be on the drawing, reflecting it when it goes through engineering for a process for permit. so it's not gonna be able to slip through the cracks. I mean, it isn't like we're trying to hide. And unfortunately, trying to put this together and catch the window, you know, we're trying to gather all the information we can, and we're getting pieces and parts. You know, we're asking and then we're getting direction, and I'm not saying anything about anybody in here, but we're trying to package it up so it's intelligent. And we don't know for sure where we are with some of it. That's why until we get a good set of drawings that we can adjust and do right.
We don't know what was done before we got there
Right.
in 2011, so we don't know what was or wasn't there.
Mhm.
At that point, we do know that nothing's completed. The irrigation was never completed, that this wasn't completed, so there's a number of things that got connected later on. We have no idea where some of this stuff dead ends off into, which we promised to deliver those as-bills as we go forward. Just have to read this particular one piece on that parcel, came to light here to the forefront, which is why we jumped on that so quickly at this point.
Okay. Is there anything else from the commission at this time? Yeah, go ahead.
I had a question regarding the access road here. You show a 20-foot access road there between turf field 3 and 4. However, from your parking lot, which is the actual entrance and the connector to that access road, I was looking at that today, and there's no way you can get a fire engine down that existing path.
That path, it is, when we had the magical lights there in 2016, that literally had truck traffic all the way through out to Cook Road, through that, and the fire engine also maintained that path. It's the same road that we had, that we paved with the city, back in 2016, 17.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
I have a question just based on some of your concerns. Is it your intention to suggest that the plan be approved separate from the lighting? And if so, does that meet with their requirements? Does it make sense for them?
Well, just reading the temperature in the room, I think at this point in time, they want they don't want to separate it. They want everything together.
Would a special meeting make more sense? Come back and try again? I'm just throwing out suggestions.
I mean, as we've been talking, I've been looking at this. I mean, I think I might, my thought was maybe to push a little bit back on the administration on this, sorry.
What would help assuage your fear on the lighting portion of this?
Well, typically, like, you know, a lot of the sports lighting is really good now. I'm not very familiar with this company. Tenkati is a major turf manufacturer, I know that. But I didn't even realize they're in sports lighting. Sports lighting I'm used to is Musco, which is obviously the Cadillac version. But there's a reason they're the Cadillac, because they, just like pharmaceuticals, they put a lot of money in time and research into making sure that their light fixtures have zero cutoff. I mean, they hardly have any light pollution. So that's why I'm sort of looking at the photometric. I mean, an 80-foot light in the air, that's a big thing for the community. I'm also worried about, I think maybe,
It is the same size as existing poles.
right, and I think maybe it wouldn't be up to us commission, but my thought would be maybe city council may want to say, hey, those lights need to be off at a certain point in time. I think there needs to be a time when those need to be off, because it is a major, I mean, this thing's gonna be lit up pretty good. So that's just sort of some of the stuff I'm thinking right now.
So also do keep in mind that the two fields, turf 1 and 2 above it, those are the old metal halides. They were Hubble lighting, actually. It was there. I sold it. I was in the electrical industry for 40 years, so I'm pretty certain, pretty confident with much of what I have to say here when it comes to the lighting portion of this. So the spill from those two existing fields is probably more than you're gonna get from these ones to what's going over there, because of the technology that was back in 2005, 6, 7,
Right.
et cetera. So the poles that are suggested on here, and the specifics to the LED fixtures that are going on there, they're a lot more specific, a lot less bleed, and they are more focused as far as their targets are concerned. We can send you other things where there's other other installations with these particular ones in there as well. And one of their main thing is it's about one of their things on their cut sheet goes on about saving your neighbor, because their whole thing is focused on lighting the field of play, not the areas around it.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just what's going on with my mind in that. First of all, I grew up around State Road Park in Parma.
Yep.
And I remember as far as curfew on your lighting, if that would have been there in Parma, they would have been in trouble a couple of times because of rain and things like that. But also, I've heard complaints from neighbors that are along Chestnut Road about the lighting over on University Hospital. So that's where I'm going at this point. And not only that, I got a little bit of knowledge in this area. My dad worked for General Electric in their lighting division. And in fact, he was one of the guys responsible for lighting Old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. And he was quite proud of that project.
They work in Neela Park.
What's that?
They work in Neela Park.
No. But he was in engineering in that. But I also traveled around there, that area this afternoon, just to refresh my understanding of that whole area and that. And as far as housing and that, there's just not a lot of housing over on Cook Road that I think will be affected by this. And those houses that are there, quite frankly, I don't think they're gonna be there that much longer. Maybe another 10 years before a commercial business buys them out. And I think it's zoned R1 in that area, but that'll be easy to rezone. And I have to admit, I'll probably be taking my lead from our chairman. And but that's where I'm at right now. It's a balancing act that you're doing, and so.
The bulk of the activity on there is gonna be soccer, lacrosse, rugby. So currently on the other two turf fields, the bulk of what we do, the program is done by 10 o'clock. We kind of have a park rule by 11, pretty much for everything to be off, but usually all the programming is done by 10, unless there is some other extenuating circumstance, some games ran over, whatever, but usually by 11 o'clock, and again, that's weekends. During the week, it's,
I understand. I'm just saying, back in the 60s in that
oh, yeah.
Parma got involved in some rainouts, and they were running games 24 hours for 4 or 5 days.
Yes, agreed. And
Yeah.
that's the beauty of turf. You don't have to worry about the rainouts.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
the planning commission has a specific authority to approve photometric plans that don't comply. Staff cannot do that. So you can sadly not delegate that authority to us over here.
Thank you.
The engineer and I were talking, and I believe that the photometric that shows carried out to 0, I think those are just the proposed new lighting, so the 10 80-footers and the 2 70-footers. So that doesn't, just so you know, it does not take into account any additional existing lighting to remain on those other turf fields. And I would say that there are not property lines marked on here, but you can kind of see from the underlying aerial. There is one house on Cook Road that has some spill, and while it does, as it gets farther away from the park, comes down to 0.2, 0.1, there are some fringe areas of those commercial properties that are substantially higher than point something, so just to point out that it doesn't immediately cut off. I guess one of my concerns would be and what we hear a lot, and coming from a town with a lot of car dealerships where residents might not receive the light in their backyard, but they see the source of the light, and that is the thing that they find irritating. And so I guess a concern of mine would be I'm not sure how drivers will experience going down Lorraine or Cook. Will they see the light source, or will there be any glare to the driver on our public road system? And maybe the answer is no, I just don't know that from this documentation. That would be a concern. I've been told that when lighting was installed for the softball fields, that I think people complained over at the drive-in theater, that it created too much brightness in the backdrop. So I'm just sensitive of not wanting to create a negative impact to any existing businesses and then have to try and address it afterwards, just trying to make sure that it's installed correctly. And just to kind of give you a visual, like 80 feet's pretty high. So when you think about some of those signs on Lorraine Road, like the Burger King sign or, McDonald's, like at the point those signs were installed, I think we had like a freeway-oriented sign allowance of up to 75 feet. So this would be that high or higher. So when you think about, the brightness in the sky, you can kind of visualize that, which is kind of the reason just for my caution of wanting to make sure that we know what we're going to get or how it will impact the surrounding property owners. But it sounds like you all have much more experience with lighting than I do. So I trust in your decision.
Madam Director, may I have a question? So just as a refresher, those other two fields already have 8 poles up with the old technology that's got all that. So they're literally right next to them. So I'm not sure if there's a concern for the street and any other properties that would have came when those original ones were built. Because these are not going to be anywhere near as bright or non-focused this village as that. So it's going to be no worse than what it already is, I guess is what I'm getting at.
So back to your schedule. I mean, I get that, you need to get the turf order in so that gets manufactured. And so what's the hurry on the lighting now?
Well, it's going to be probably 12 to 16 weeks, on the lighting. And that's given if there's no delays. That was worse, obviously, during COVID, but they're roughly in a 12-week window right now, and that's with an order today kind of thing. So, and we kind of have 16 to 18 weeks is kind of where we're at right now as far as the commitment level from the customer base, from Marco Raduca and For Sports.
Okay. So I guess, I don't know, the lighting is a big issue. And I mean, we like the director said, we have multiple city right-of-way out there that's being impacted by this. So we want to make sure the motoring public, is not, so that way it doesn't interfere with their driving. So I guess I'm going to ask the question one more time. Do you guys want to just do the development plan tonight and come back for the lighting?
If I could ask a question first, if we do split the lighting off to get that further detail, will that slow down the actual start of construction and process?
That's wouldn't be up to us. I mean, that's up to you guys. I have no idea. We have no idea what your schedule is.
Well, what I'm saying is, if we don't have the approvals yet on lighting, are we allowed to move dirt if you guys are approved with everything else that we had put in at that point?
I guess that'd be up to the administration.
Well, Mr. Borky, I would like to see a little more detail in the improvement
If you
plans,
have all
but
that,
when,
we can light it out for a moment,
Yes.
as long as we stay on
Yes.
schedule with all the rest of that stuff.
if everything looks good, we can move you forward.
Okay, then yes, sir, we can do that.
Okay, so just for clarification, the applicant is withdrawing the lighting plan and we're just going to be making a vote on the development plan. Okay, at this time, the chair will entertain a motion. I guess I'd like to make a motion for approval with the following conditions. The athletic fields will have a 15-foot run-out minimum. There'll be a double gate to each field for emergency access. Is there any discussion on those conditions? Okay, with the chair, is there a second?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Also, the engineering department had 10 open bullet points. I think we should reference those. These were all the things that the engineers said that they felt they could work out, but I think that we should put that on the record.
Mr. Chairman, are those things, make sure they're things that are expected at this stage?
I'll kick it back to city engineer, but I think some of these are just the normal administrative process that goes from development plan into a permit set of plans.
Which they are
That
bound
would
to
be
do
their,
at any rate.
the city administration would do the due diligence anyways to make sure these are taken care of.
Very good.
Okay,
Did we have
roll,
a second?
go ahead.
Did we have a second yet?
No.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All right, Madam Secretary, roll.
Toth,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Smolik.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one other comment.
Yes.
If they're looking to limit your liabilities, you need to tie down that trailer. It's by one of your ball fields. It's not tied down.
Trailer?
Yep. You have a trailer by one of your ball fields.
We have several trailers.
A construction trailer, it's a construction trailer. I was in the business for 30 years, so it's not tied down. It's right next to, hold on.
Multiple food trailers and an executive restroom trailer.
No, it's not a restroom trailer. Let's see here. It would be, I think, around Turf 1.
Oh, that's the media trailer, yes.
You need to tie it down.
Okay. Fair enough, thank you.
Whoever you were doing business with should have told you that.
Yeah, that was our own doing. They do the pronouncing for St. Joseph's rugby games and soccer and whatever. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
we appreciate your time and thank
No
you.
problem. At this time, there's no other business brought before the commission, so the planning commission meeting for March 11th is adjourned. Good night, everyone.